The first step in a three-peat is keeping the band together, and that's what the Kansas City Chiefs are doing from the coaching staff on down today on Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every single moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 back if a $5 bet wins. Right now, that's $150 back in bonus bets. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. Welcome in, everybody. This is Locked On Chiefs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day and then some. Welcome in. We appreciate you. Make sure you like, sub, and hit the bell here on YouTube where we start. And we echo out to Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all the audio platforms, so you can get subscribed over there as well. Have us on the go wherever you like it, in your ear, audio or video. And then if you just have to have a little bit more, if you're an everydayer, and we truly appreciate all you everydayers that hear every single episode, if you want just that much more, you locals can join the Insider text line at 816-357-8781 for breaking news and our instant reaction to things that we just can't get in front of a camera for. So here we are as we get ready, and things are starting to change already. We just came off our in-depth review quarter by quarter of Super Bowl 58. If you missed any of that, go back and check that out because we hit it all, and it was a really fun, deep dive into this special back. We're hoping to have to do it again after a third. The Chiefs are as well, and they're making preparations to do that. We're going to talk about free agency tomorrow, in-depth, targets, etc., going about it. But today, we are going to give you what the cap moves are that can be made. Chris is going to walk us through basics, Capology 101, and what has to happen in the second segment. And as we start here today, they are kicking things off by keeping the coaching staff together. They've already done a number of things, including extending Steve Spagnuolo, extending. Now Andy Reid's up for an extension, and the news is in the wind that it's coming down. I love this concept, and I love just getting it all out of the way. I say bring everybody back that you intend to keep and make those moves as early as possible. We might see a couple changes here, but for the core, they are keeping this band together.
Yeah, they absolutely are, and it's fantastic to see. I was actually talking to some of my family about this the other day. Andy Reid is the third highest paid coach in the AFC West right now. Not just the NFL, the AFC West. So that really says a lot. I mean, obviously I understand the Sean Payton thing. The Broncos are going to pay whatever they're going to pay. They have more money than they know what to do with. And then you have the Chargers. And I will admit, I'm very surprised Spanos dug into his pocketbook as much as he did to hire Harbaugh at the rate he did. I mean, that's just not a normal move for him. So it's kind of surprising. So we'll see what happens there. But Andy Reid being the third highest paid coach in the AFC West says a lot about where he needs to be.
Doggone it, you just can't have that happen anymore. It's got to get changed. And here's the great thing, the thing that I love the most, you can spend whatever you want on the coaching staff. It does not go against the cap. It does not limit you in any way other than what ownership's bottom line cash flow is. And that's great. We know Clark's a wealthy man. Every owner in the NFL is, for the most part, unless you happen to be a Las Vegas fan. You're able to do that. It does affect spending in terms of the bottom line, but you don't have to have it all up in one chunk. You don't have to guarantee it. It's not like you're guaranteed a player salary. That is a different thing. And I think by doing this signals that we're not looking to make wholesale changes. We're not looking to change it up. This is working as it is right now. We're going to add some junior guys. We're going to let some guys kind of turn over naturally through attrition and getting hired away. But the core, the guys at the top, the coordinators and the guys that affect the field the most are going to stay on this staff.
Well, and we're not even talking about one of the guys that doesn't get enough credit in Dave Merritt. I mean, he's been a fantastic coach for the Chiefs for a very long time at the cornerback group and the DBs, and he's done fantastic, but he's not wanting to move because he wants to stay around his kids, and he wants to have his kids be in the same place for high school. Now, a couple of years down the road, that's going to be different, but in this situation at Kansas City, they're in a lucky position. They're where a lot of teams want to be. And I don't mean just because they won the Super Bowl, but because look at the success they've had. Teams aren't willing to go give Steve Spagnuolo a new shot at a head coaching job. I don't necessarily agree with it. Don't get me wrong. I'm thankful that he's staying in Kansas City, but they don't want to hire him as a head coach. And you're looking at, I already talked about Dave Merritt. He's going to be here until his kids graduate high school. Then you have, Brendan Daly got an extension. Dave Tobe got an extension. Now you're talking about Andy Reid, who surprisingly people have been trying to say is going to retire after the past 2 Super Bowls. Obviously, if they're going to start talking in an extension, that's not going to happen. He still, I believe, got 2 years left on his deal currently. And an extension just means that he's likely to be here for, another 3 or 4 years. And the big thing to know about extensions or to know about coaching contracts is they are fully guaranteed. So he will be under contract with the Chiefs and will get his full contract. Unless he retires, then that's a little bit of a different scenario. But as long as he is employed and they don't fire him, he is going to get his full contract. So whatever it ends up being, he's going to have it for the next several years. And I can't see any scenario where you would be firing Andy Reid, even if things fell off the rocker in the next several years.
Yeah. Reid retirement rumors are just that. Wishful thinking by a lot of, say 31 other teams around the league.
Yeah, but there's only really one person that talks about it who really has no insight into the Chiefs at all whatsoever. So don't really understand that. And really quick, I know we're talking about the Chiefs, but one of the guys that has been covering the Chiefs forever, I just want to give a shout out. Peter King, congratulations on your career. Congratulations on retirement. Thank you for everything you've done. And if I remember correctly, he's the one that broke the news that they were going to draft Mahomes at 10 overall when they drafted him in 2017. He has a great relationship with Andy Reid, and we're going to miss him. Peter King has done a fantastic job.
I cannot echo that more. In fact, 10 things I think part of his column over the years. It's what got me started doing this. It was a road to get there because I thought I might be able to write. For those of you who ever read my articles, you know that that's a challenge and I have to have an editor, but I could talk just fine. Thank you to Peter King, because I'm glad you bring that up, because he got the ball rolling for me as well in terms of inspiration. As far as adding there, I think also is under the radars that the flirtation Joe Cullen had with leaving to the college ranks. Now he's back and he's got, as I understand, an adjusted contract. I don't know if it's extended specifically, but I know there was a raise involved. So doubling down on what has gotten you here and the core of it, and Dave Merritt, and there's going to be some younger guys that are going to go. I'm interested to see what happens in terms of the quarterback coaching. You have a young guy there. You have Blake is still here. We had some conversations about the wide receiver coach position during the season. Don't know what's going to happen there. So there are still some things to be said, but the core, the things that you build on, the foundation of this coaching staff is going to be the same. And they're going to attempt to run it right back on a triple. How can they do that? And how can they have players that they want to coach, that they feel can take the next step and can work it all the way back for another, let's call it a 20, not a 21 game season in coming 2024. That's what we're looking for.
I see.
How do we
see what you did there?
Yeah. Hey, let's see how we can do that. We're going to do that right here on the backside. Come here on the Locked On Podcast Network. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. And the one question that you could ask, and I probably ask myself this every day, if you had 1 hour back, what could you do with it? And there's a whole list for me, from editing to trying to write so that my editor can actually fix my words, all the way down to planning more episodes and getting things done. If you have to squeeze more into less in terms of time, that's a special kind of stress, and things can help you get through that and be more efficient. Take advantage when you do get that extra time. Therapy is one of them. It can help you find what matters most to you so that you can do more of it. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online. It's designed to be totally up to you. Work around your schedule and be flexible when you need it. You just fill out a questionnaire. You get matched with a licensed therapist, and you start your sessions. If you decide you want to change it up, you want a different point of view, you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. It's all up to you. Learn to make the time that you need that makes you happy with BetterHelp. BetterHelp.com/lockedon. If you go there today, you're going to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp.com/lockedon. This is the part of the season, and particularly this is the first show of what will be many, folks, as we go over all the numbers, all the accounting, all the things that have to be done by Chris Shea now that Brant Hillis is not in the building. And if he gets stuck, I'm pretty sure he can call Chris Clark CPA to help him out. Our guy is going to get himself off his mute and tell us exactly about where we are in the cap.
Yeah, I don't think that I would say that he's going to be able to call me. There's some ins and outs that I don't know when it comes to the cap, but there's a lot to talk about when we start looking at how to build this to a three-peat. The biggest thing, and you and Matt already talked about this because it came out right as you were getting ready to do your show for Wednesday, $255.4 million is the cap number. It was supposed to be around 242. It looks like the Chiefs are about 256, almost 257 in cap space in 2020. In total cap numbers. So they have an adjustment that happens. And let's just go ahead and take a look at that here. Where'd that go? There we go. So almost $257 million is the team total salary cap. And it looks like they have about 17 million currently as it is right now. So let's just take a look at this. Let's see, dead money of almost $4 million. Most of that is Chris Jones. Most of that is, his leftover from 2023 in the way they got him to be there. So what do you want to look at first? Where do you want to go?
Yeah, before we get there, we know that this is showing 17. It's estimated at 257-ish, right?
Yep.
There's rollover in there from this year, right?
Correct. That's why it's 257, not 255.4.
Okay. I just wanted to point that out so we know our starting point and what's going on there. Now, this was also reported like a week ago that it was 28, so I'm not sure what happened to the cap space. Do you?
I do think that you're just looking at different things coming from 2023 that actually are going to hit for 2024. Okay. An example of that was Chris Jones. They've already got the dead money in here, so that's part of it. It could also be different incentives that hit with different players. I know Mahomes had another $1.25 million added to his base salary, I believe, for winning the Super Bowl this year. So, I mean, there's different incentives that are hitting, and that's why this number has changed.
Well, you had a great piece over on Chiefs Corner. Folks, if you don't subscribe to Chiefs Corner, go get there. It's on Substack. You can get there at kcchiefscorner.com, as well as mine over at NFL33.com, where we look at the rest of the league. But if you want Chiefs Capology, it's at Chiefs Corner. That whole thing about possibly getting all the way to like 100 million, that's a long way from where we're sitting right here. But we already know that they're talking about extension or at least a restructure for Patrick Mahomes. That's in line with what we've seen them do in the past. But show us what that does, or tell me how much you like that maneuver.
So here's the thing about Mahomes' contract that I actually like even more than I did in the past is when they redid it this past time and gave him more money and moved money up, they also moved when his trigger for his non-prorated bonus hits. And it's now in May. So it's after the draft. So it's after free agency. Or main free agency, I guess I should say, not necessarily free agency, because Kansas City did a lot of free agent stuff after the first week last year. So, that's one of the things I like. And if you want to look at just as Mahomes' numbers, let's do that. So let's do a restructure. And we're doing a calculation here. His base salary, we're restructuring a little over $8.5 million and restructuring almost $36 million. So the number right now is 17.1. Now it's at 52, almost 53.
Now, I know this is on the tip of everybody's tongue. This is what they want to hear the most about. In doing that, what did it do to the length of his contract? Was it due to years in the future? Are they getting to the point where they just got to rip this thing up and he's got to agree to it so they can start fresh?
It doesn't change his years, but look at his cap number in 2025, $70 million.
Oh, wow. Yeah, we don't see that on the screen. Unless I'm missing it. Oh, there it is. Sorry. Right, the green on green's a little bit hard, folks. If you're having trouble reading it, or if you're on the audio, you're in the same position I am. So there you go.
Yeah, and obviously you can do something with the non-prorated bonus. You can adjust that. But that would put his cap number at almost $70 million for 2025. I don't expect that there's going to be as big of a change in the salary cap. If you look at what OTC has currently, they're only expecting it to go up about $5 million. I would guess it goes up probably double that at least, but that's still not a ton of money when you're talking about $70 million cap hit for one player. Obviously, that's not going to be something that the Chiefs are going to do. They would have to do a restructure of sorts. I don't expect that they're going to restructure the entire amount this year. I'm just trying to show what they actually could do if they wanted. And one of the biggest reasons why we talk about this in the sense of if they wanted to is because you're in a situation where you can make history this year winning your third straight championship. No team has ever done that. It makes it a little bit more palatable to try to chase something because there's also going to be guys that after 25 and 26 may not be playing anymore. Travis Kelce's going to be back next year. Is he going to be back at 25?
Don't say it. Don't say it.
Well, it's not me. It's you. You can't say something. That's when it happens. So there you go.
The Eras Tour, part 78.
Yeah. 2026, Mahomes' contract would go to $72 million. In 2027, $68 million. But you can see he's the only one under contract for the next 4 seasons.
Yeah.
So definitely something to watch there. And then it would drop back to 36 and 28, and then it keeps going all the way through 2031. So you can do that. I don't expect them to do that type of restructure. I still think that they're going to do some sort of restructure, but it's not going to be 58. So where do they go with it? That's going to be up to them. They got to figure out who they're going to try to keep and what they're going to do. One of the other key candidates for a restructure in my mind is right here in Jawan Taylor, because you can go and restructure his deal and get him down to $12 million, which would give you an extra $17 million this year in cap space. That's almost L'Jarius Sneed by himself.
Right. I mean,
on the franchise tag, to be clear.
Yeah, and that's a nice chunk. And so do you anticipate that is one of the keys?
I would think that this is one of the ones that they're going to look at, mainly because they have him under contract for the next 3 seasons. So when you start looking at restructures, it's really hard to want to do a restructure with a guy like Joe Thuney, and I'll show you exactly why. Because if you go and you restructure Thuney, because right now his cap number is $27 million, basically. If you restructure Thuney, his cap number goes to 19. So you only save like $7 million.
Right.
But it's almost 35 million, 34.5 million next year in 2025. And that's the final year of his deal, I believe. So you're not able to do anything at that point to help with Thuney in the future. So I don't think that you're going to be looking at maybe doing something with Thuney in 2025. So that would add almost $8 or $9 million to Thuney in 2025. Don't think that's something you want to do. Jawan Taylor, I do think, really, I think the biggest thing, and I know we've talked about this.
Before you go there, I want to know about the most important ones, but we're going to hit that after the break. What's the most likely move that's going to happen? You guys are going to, some are going to dig it, some are not. But we're going to get into it right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers, you get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet right now on FanDuel. That's $150 if your bet wins. Super straightforward and simple. Bet all your favorite NBA players with the teams that you're looking for, whether it's quick bets, same game parlays, exclusive props, and everything else under the sun. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and shoot your shot today. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon at FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA and the NFL. I know you were so excited. I had to slow you down. I'm sorry to cut you off there. Everyone in Chiefs Kingdom is going to be saying the same thing. Now, despite a 4-game, and again, folks, I want this to be a 3-game repeat, a 20-game season next year. But in this 4-game postseason run, one guy stood out as really, I think, correcting everything about his regular season. And if this doesn't happen, this action is going to teach me to just shut up about my complaints and just realize that Andy Reid is really waiting until playoff season anyway. But what's the biggest move that we're expecting to see that will help this situation as well?
Honestly, I think that it's possible that they actually just restructure or reduce his salary for the year if he's willing to do it. But
who's that?
MBS, Marquez Valdez-Scantling. But if you cut him, you save $12 million. So that, if you start looking at this and how it can affect your roster, how it could affect things going forward, $12 million right now would get you a Drew Tranquil, a Mike Edwards, and most of your draft class just with that one cut.
Yeah.
Not saying for sure if it's going to happen, but that would be the most likely scenario when you start looking at cuts. There's some other guys on here that you could look at. The reality to me, though, is reducing some of these guys' numbers. Look at a guy in like Justin Reid. I'm not saying cut him, but I would talk extension. He's 27. I would give him, he's got a year left on his deal. I would give him another 2 or 3 years, extend him and drop his number. And I'm not going to sit here and play with numbers because we could be here all night just looking at what we could do with different players. But you could easily get his number down, I think, to probably 5 or 6 million, maybe 7 million instead. So you would free up half of the cap space by extending him. And I do think that that's possibly something they're going to do. Other guys that are going to be up for extensions, you could make an argument. Charles Omenihu probably is somebody maybe you want to look at, although his injury kind of makes you question that as well. So $11 million on his cap number, if he was willing to do an extension for roughly what he made, or maybe a little bit more than what he made for another couple of years, maybe you look at doing that. You could bring his cap number down, but you're not going to get a ton of savings there. Travis Kelce, 15.5. That's ridiculously low for a guy like him. I mean, he's basically a number one wide receiver and probably should be getting closer to $25 million as opposed to 15.5. I mean, you could restructure him. You could extend him. Lots of different ways you could go there. I still think that Joe Thuney is maybe going to get a 2-year extension, maybe. That would give you the ability to move some of his cap space back and see if he can finish his career in Kansas City, because I'm sure he loves playing here. All they seem to do with him is win championships. So of some sort, whether or not it's Super Bowl or just AFC Championship, I mean, they seem to do plenty of it.
Yeah, Joe's been on a pretty good run when you look at a free agent that made the right choice. It's pretty impressive. Now, they paid him handsomely, and part of this is coming because of that. But all in all, there are other small things you can do, but like you said, just an extension for Justin Reid can probably net you enough to cover your draft class. And I think that that's well worth it. And then you get to the MVS decision, whether it's an extension, a restructure or a cut, you can recoup a good chunk of cap space there. Love the Juwan Taylor thing, because I don't think he's going anywhere. The debate that we're going to have in coming weeks as we start looking at the free agent class and the draft classes is what the tackle situation should look like. I can guarantee you it's going to have a Juwan Taylor in it. I'm not able to guarantee you which side of the ball he's going to play on. So it does have options there.
Yep. And there's going to be other guys that they're going to be looking at giving extensions to that will eat up some of the money. A Creed Humphrey, a Nick Bolton, Trey Smith, those types of guys that are actually available to extend. And maybe even you throw money at Noah Gray and see if he'll sign a lower deal for a couple of million a year and keep him around for the next foreseeable future. Because while I still want them to go out and try to draft a tight end, and I'm not saying that they can replace Travis Kelce, because you just can't. We talked about that actually on the overtime episode. There are not many players in the NFL that read a defense as well as Travis Kelce does, and I'm including quarterbacks in that. He reads defenses so well, it is nuts. And if you could find a player that does that, it is going to be something that's going to be fantastic for your team. But Noah Gray has been a good backup. And when you start looking at the tight end position in Kansas City beyond Travis Kelce, there is nothing. So having Gray stay for a couple more years would be a good deal, in my opinion. If he's willing to take a cheaper deal to do it, I think that you do that, and we'll see.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. There are some other minor things that are going to happen. You're going to have to restock some positions, especially the ones that we've talked about here. Tomorrow, we're going to have Matt Derrick on to give us an inside view as he's at the Combine. I was not able to get credentialed to the Combine, so I'm not going to make it this year. But we're going to have Matt on from there. There's going to be press from Veach and Reid. We'll have more discussion in our breakdown for that for you tomorrow. And then we'll get back to our next take is, after understanding where the cap's at and some of the moves that can be made to alleviate space, what do they do? Where do they start? And what does free agency look like? We're going to take our first snap at free agent potential out there for either retaining or new free agents in Kansas City coming up on Thursday, and we will expand that on Friday as we get ready for next week and our first mock draft Monday of the season. Be ready.
Where did February go? It just feels like that this month flew by. Like, I don't understand how we're already doing mock drafts, but I'm excited for it. Every single year, draft season is something that I really enjoy. So looking forward to a lot of that. And I will have mock draft Monday again on Chiefs Corner as well. So that'll be something to check out. A lot of draft talk coming in the future weeks, and free agency. Going to have a lot of stuff on free agency and how that could play out for the Chiefs over the next several weeks as well.
I'm going to give you guys a little hint here for all of you who stuck through and watched all of this show or listened to it on your audio. There's going to be a code locked on at Rogue APC because the combine starts this week. I'll have the data and I'll have the actual product for the Athletic Matrix coming out soon. You can get a discount if you use the code locked on at rogueapc.com. We'll have more on that coming up next week. Don't worry about that as we have everything covered as we go through on Corner, on 33, on RGR, on Rogue APC, and certainly here every single day. Make sure you like, sub, and hit that bell here on YouTube. And get subbed over on Spotify or the Apple or whatever audio platform you dig. We're there. We appreciate you being with us. Check out the Locked On Sports Today feed for all the sports news that you need 24/7. You can't sleep? Throw it on. It's going to help you out. And if you want that extra little information, hit 816-357-8781 for our insider text line. Thank you to you, Logos, and all of you guys. Have a great night. We're going to be back with you at this same bat time tomorrow with Matt